When I talked to the ex-Governor General yesterday, he said, where were you, at what part? And I said, I was in the SIGs. And he said, shake hands again. I was in Signal too. See, communications can turn the war, decide the events of the war. It happened, with the in the British with their decoding and of the German messages and communication, and the same thing we've got decoded the Japanese messages, and that's what turned some of the great sea battles, because we were able to send the bombers in. But so communication were always held very as a significant and battle turning factor. And so we were doing the survey on there, and we found that there was a lot of interference. It may have been the quality too of the equipment we had. Our wireless were pretty heavy, pretty primitive in those days. We never had an iPad. In New Guinea, we went in Queensland, we went to a place called Maroochydore, and it was very primitive in the place in those days. I had a chemist shop, a hotel, a post office, and a few buildings, and we had to watch the coastline because it was thought that the Japanese were going to attack. We had the Brisbane line. Now we get an argument particularly from a senior officer in the Australian War Memorial, and he claims that the Japanese wouldn't have invaded Australia. Utter tripe. A true historian would know that battles turn on events. If there had been no resistance to the Japanese invasion, they would have just walked into Australia. Now, you can't refute that. Absolutely. If no one was going to stop them, they'd just come here, right? So it just depended on the amount of defence, depending on how far they would go. So for a historian, he's acknowledged as a historian, to say anything like, the Japanese wouldn't have invaded Australia, it's absolute tripe. The other thing, why I was think we should, this myth is being dispelled now, but about Darwin. Now, when we came back, Australia was virtually not at war. I told you about the wharfies, whatnot. We're not in danger, sort of thing, and the general population, business as usual, going along, going to dances and all that kind of thing, celebrating. There were restrictions, of course, rationing, whatnot, start coming in, but the country wasn't like it must have been in England, where the population was at war. Here it was quite different, and for some reason our government made took the strange decision to say, well, we'll pretend we're not in danger, and nothing really happened at Darwin, Curtin's job was to arouse the population mainly, and for that he was attacked by the opposition. He has since been attacked by the opposition. They say that he was it was propaganda, etc., but it was a fact that Australia was in danger, and Curtin stated it, but it didn't come out in history like that. They're trying to change history now. We get back to what we said earlier on, the communications is life. If you get life wrong, communications wrong, you get life wrong. It's absolutely important. Look, communication is not only about life itself. That's what's given human beings the superiority, the species, our ability to communicate, not just from one person to another, but from one generation to another. Over the generations, we've been able to accumulate that information, and it would be useless if we couldn't communicate it. So what you are doing now is of the essence. It's really, absolutely important, and it's important that you get it right. And you're going to the original sources. Not that they're always right. We may we do exaggerate a bit occasionally, but we do get things wrong dates. But in the end, that's to get the facts right and get the history right, and the way he was going about it is absolutely essential. I'll tell you one story I've never told even Joy, but because this reminds me of Arnold Potts, who was mentioned last night. Remember, he was sleeping by a log. Well, when I was wounded at the Moor, I had shots in the upper and lower arm. I couldn't use my right arm, and the first night I got back to the group, and I woke up in the morning. I was just lying alongside dead bodies. We didn't have anything to eat, so we went through the day, and we camped, bivouacked in a old building, and in the morning, that was the day that we were going to advance, I was sent back. I was only about 20, less than 20, I think, 19. Sent back with a dozen prisoners. I had picked up a French revolver, so I had to take them back a mile through just these French prisoners. French Foreign Legion. They were pretty docile, fortunately. But I got back and I handed them over to Arnold Potts. And I remember thinking at the time, he said, "Oh, you've been wounded." It flashed through my mind. I said, "Yeah, but not killed," like the boy who fell dead. Anyway, I was sent to hospital and in Haifa, and I woke up in hospital, and strangely enough, that was about just the time the French Navy came along and bombarded the hospital. The shells hit the building. I was up the top, and I was left the only patient. When I woke up, I was the only patient in the ward. Taking shelter.